Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Before I begin today, a big thank you to Seth for the gift voucher. Huge thank you my friend for the support, it is truly appreciated, thank you. But on to today. So with the Necrons really stepping into the spotlight this edition, it's safe to say, temporarily at least, they have assumed the mantle as the Imperium's main foe. Particularly with the return of the Silent King. And today we're going to discuss just which Necron Lords may be with the Silent King and who is against him. General spoiler warning to begin, as we are going to be referencing current lore from across the universe, and in particular from the new Necron codex, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Okay, so, as you guys know by now, I was a big fan of the possibility of Immatech the Stormlord possibly being opposed to the return of the Silent King, as it added a fantastic extra layer to the Silent King's return. It opened the possibilities wide for more unrest within the Necron dynasties. So with the new Necron Codex now out, what better time to take a look at all the major players within the Necron race. Just who is against Zarek, and who is with him. And where better place to start than with Immatech himself. Now before the return of the Silent King, Immatech was undoubtedly top dog of the awakening Necron Empire, having claimed the Sortek dynasty for himself. And while we didn't quite get the expansion of his story that I was hoping for, there are a couple of points that give the clarity and answers that I was looking for. Firstly, confirmation of Immatech's disdain for the returned Silent King. Immatech sees himself as the great uniter of the Necron people, and he has no desire to be eclipsed by the very being whom he holds ultimately accountable for the plight of the Necron race. So while maybe not an outright statement of war, it's made very clear here, Immatech has not yet bent the knee to Zarek. He has no desire to be eclipsed by the dude he blames for this whole mess in the first place. And this is followed up in the Silent King's description, with a line confirming not all Pharaons have sworn allegiance, and some reject him openly. These, however, are in the minority. And then interestingly, upon the war zone of Ammuntep 2, we have an interesting battle for control of an Imperial mining world. The Adeptus Mechanicus defending against Chaos Demons and Immatech's Sortek dynasty. But when an ancient dolmen gateway activates, the Silent King's forces march through. And the key point here, they show no intention of going to the aid of Immatech's forces, leaving the Sortek dynasty to fend for themselves. So while not outright stated, there are definitely enough references throughout the codex that Immatech is against the Silent King. While open warfare doesn't appear to have begun, there is most definitely a Cold War underway. Trezen the Infinite. Well, if there's one thing we know of Trezen, he is truly out for himself, interested only in expanding his collection and the galleries of Solomace. However, in the Codex there is nothing written in regards to Trezen's relationship with the Silent King, and he is part of a new novel, so it is most likely expanded upon in there. However, Trezen is still officially part of the Nihilak dynasty, and in their description they have already openly aligned with the returned Silent King. So for now, we'll say Trezen is with the Silent King, until he tries to catch him in one of his Pokeballs. Illuminor Xeras. Now, we saw Xeras back in the Psychic Awakening campaign, where he was working with a mysterious benefactor, who we just happened to know was the Silent King. And this remains in effect in the new edition. In Xeras's eagerness and desire to understand the soul, the illogical part of the universe, Sarek has what is stated as the leverage to acquire Xeras's allegiance. So while he may not be aligned through any true sense of loyalty, the fact remains Xeras is working for the Silent King, at least for the immediate future. Oricon the Diviner, the once advisor to the Silent King in the days of flesh and blood. Oricon was the lone voice decrying the offer of immortality presented by the star god C'tans. And in this new edition, it is made very clear Oricon has not yet forgiven his former king. And we're given a little glimpse of insight as we are told their last exchange of words all those millennia ago was a very bitter one indeed. Oricon's motives are a mystery to all, and any action he takes is truly only to further his own goals. If Oricon marches to war alongside his former king, you can rest assured there is an ulterior motive. Oricon the Diviner is very much against the Silent King. Xandrek and Oberon. Now this is fairly straightforward. Their lore remains much the same as it has always been. Xandrek, though delusional and insane, is very much loyal to Immatech and the Sortek dynasty, and there is nothing to suggest he won't follow the Stormlord, whatever he decrees. So if Immatech openly declares war against the Silent King, Xandrek will most certainly follow. However, there is an interesting thought that if Xandrek's insanity believes the Necrons to still be of flesh and blood, would he really still despise the Silent King? It is an interesting thought to ponder. Anrakir. There's no beating around the bush with Anrakir. He fights for the future of the Necron race as a whole, and it's stated as fact. Had the Silent King already declared his return, Anrakir would undoubtedly have rallied to his banner. In essence, Anrakir has been trying to fill the void of the Silent King for quite some time. He wants the reunification of the whole race, and while it may be a little dent to the pride in now bowing before another, honestly, I think Anrakir would do so gladly. As much as I love Immatech, there's only one individual capable of taking the entire galaxy in hand, and that is Zarek. So Anrakir is very much on the Silent King's side. And well, as it stands, that is all the movers and shakers of the Necron race, at least all the special characters named at this point. So for the Silent King, we have Trezen the Infinite, Illuminor Xeras, and Anrakir the Traveller. And against, Immatech the Stormlord, Oricon the Diviner, and Xandrek. How far that goes still remains to be seen. So on the whole, it was nice to get a little more clarity on what's going on within the politics of the Necron Empire, even if I was hoping for a little more information. I think the true story narrative will definitely be coming from the novels going forward, and of course whenever we hit the next campaign. But man, I have to say, I am still really looking forward to them advancing Immatech's storyline. I was very apprehensive with the release of the codex that we would have seen Immatech having bent the knee to the returned Silent King, but that is very much not the case. How far will his defiance go? Well, while the Silent King's power base is still very much scattered, his dynasty is only increasing with every pharaon that flocks to his banner. So if Immatech is going to make a move, he'll have to do so sooner rather than later. But as always guys, what do you think? Were you happy with the lore that we got in the new Necron codex? And are you glad there are some Necrons who stand opposed to the Silent King? Or should they all have bent the knee? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support really means a lot to me, it truly does. And if you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow. And if you enjoyed this particular vid, then why not drop a like on it too. But with that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.